you doing today, Len?
Doing real good, Ralph. I appreciate you having me here. I'm really anxious to talk to you about this. It's a subject that I really love.
You know, Len, you've been a good friend to me for a long time. We've had some great discussions, and I was always impressed with the love that you have for your mom and taking care of her, and that's one of the major reasons why I chose you as one of my heroes. And I was just curious, what do you want out of life in 10 words or less?
Wow, that's an interesting question. 10 words or less. I want to be remembered as someone who cared. I think that would have to sum it up as best I can.
Len, what is the dream or vision that sets the course of your life?
Dream or vision? I guess initially, like everyone else, I wanted wealth and fame. But as I grew older and realized what success really was, my dream is to see my children be happy, to help everyone in my family as much as I can, and to touch as many people in society and help people find their way in life. There's just so many people that are lost needlessly, and all they really have to do is look within themselves and believe in themselves. And I think I've been through a lot in my life, mostly self-imposed, and I think I can help people realize that if they just look at themselves a little differently, and if they just have faith in themselves and realize that they can and will do anything that they set their minds to, whether that's good or bad, that the future is up to them. And if I can just convince people of that, then the world would be a better place all the way around.
Len, how important is it to stay focused on your primary goal?
Staying focused is probably the most important thing you can do. I think your primary goal is the question here. What is your goal? I think you have to have good goals. You have to have worthy goals. And then once you've set a worthy goal that's good for you and those around you, then in order to get there, you have to be focused. And I think more than focused, you have to be dedicated. I think you have to make up your mind that no matter what, you're not going to give up until you get it done. And that dedication is what gets people through the hard times. Focus comes and goes, and it's almost impossible not to keep that from happening. I mean, things around you, the world around you is going to change your focus, but dedication brings you back to that focus time and time again. So I think it's really dedication that is necessary to get anywhere in life.
I know this is kind of a strange question, Len, but do you follow your hunches and intuition? I know women are usually more intuitive and follow their hunches more because it's a part of the brain hemisphere, the right brain, that most men don't use. What do you think about that? Do you use your intuition and follow your hunches?
Yeah, that's a funny question. Actually, as a man, we don't call it intuition; we call it our gut feeling. But yes, I always follow my gut feeling, and if I don't, I pay for it. Inevitably, throughout my entire life, I always seem to know what to do, what's right, what's wrong, when to do it, why, where, everything, intuitively, through my gut. I mean, I can feel it. And I guess the gut feeling really comes in when you don't follow what you think is right, or when you don't follow that intuition, which I guess is what it really is. But if you don't follow it, then your gut just gets tied in knots. You know that you're doing the wrong thing. And so many times through my life, and I've seen it in other people too, they don't follow what they feel they should have done. And inevitably, it turns out to be wrong, and it comes back to bite them in the butt. So my wife, whenever we're trying to make a decision, the first thing she'll ask me is, what does your gut say? And she keeps me on track, forcing me to listen to my inner self, because I believe that there's an infinite consciousness out there, that we're all part of God. We're all part of one infinite, one consciousness, one thing. And if you open yourself up to the answers, they will come. I mean, they're all there waiting to flood in. But when you deny your intuition, that's shutting that door. It's just slamming it shut, and the truth can't get in. And if the truth can't get in, then you've got a 50-50 chance of going in the right direction. So, yes, I try to always, I can't say that I always do, but I try to always listen to what my inner self is trying to tell me.
Philosophies guide people's lives. What specific philosophy or philosophies guide your life?
Philosophies. That's a tough one. It's just a way. I don't think it's so much philosophies as it's a way of life. I believe that everything you do, good or bad, comes back to you tenfold. And I think that if you spend your days trying to do good in one way or another, and that doesn't always mean trying to help people or running around and handing out stuff at soup kitchens, but if you try to do good and not bad, then eventually, and help as many people as you can, eventually, somewhere, somehow, that will come back to you. It will come back to you tenfold. It's happened to me so many times in my life, and it's also happened to me when I've done something that was completely selfish, which I would consider a bad thing. It comes back to bite me too. So I think you have to remember that nothing is free in life, and if you do a good deed, or if you try to help somebody and you do help somebody, that it will come back to you, that someone else will be there when you need it. And it's the laws of reciprocity. They apply in all things, and that works both ways. So I guess if there's a philosophy that I follow, that would have to be it. I do a lot of coaching, and people pay me a lot of money to coach them. But I also almost always have several people that I do for free. I just feel that they needed the help. They asked for it. I give it to them, and almost without question, in one way or another, it comes back to me. Many times when they've become successful, they'll come back and pay me just out of the blue. I never ask for their money, or they'll turn me on to someone else, or someone else will want to do a business deal with me because they mentioned how much they learned or whatever. It always comes back to you, always. And I think if everybody followed that golden rule, the do unto others as you would have them do unto you, I mean, that's one of those silly things we were taught when we were kids, but it is just so true, then it does come back to you. That's not to say that bad things won't happen, but I think overall the good will outweigh the bad as if you are doing more good than you are bad. So
that's a great answer. And to follow up with that, what is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and morality? Do you think that it's important for people to be good, have good ethics, and have moral behavior?
I think that all comes back to what I just said a minute ago, that do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's a matter of goodness is being good, which means not hurting people. Ethics means following your inner self, knowing when you're hurting somebody and when you're not, or whether something you're about to do is going to hurt somebody and not doing it. It's really just a matter of trying to help each other and loving each other, and not trying to use each other. I think that's where ethics and morality comes in. When you start trying to use other people for your gains, whatever those are, then you're getting into a very gray area, and it can turn black real easily. So you need to do what you can for yourself in your own way without having to affect other people unless you can affect them positively. And I think trying to help other people will always further your cause. So I honestly believe you can help yourself better by working with other people and trying to help them be better themselves. So.
Len, a lot of people in their lives have a higher power, or some supernatural being that they're involved with, or some God consciousness. What do you think is the place of prayer in a person's life? What place does it have in yours?
That's a sticky, almost sore subject with me. I mentioned a few minutes ago that I believe in a higher consciousness, a total consciousness, that we're all a part of the one, a part of the whole. And I truly believe that. And in any sense of the word, that would have to mean God. So am I religious? Am I spiritual? Yes, absolutely. I totally believe that only an idiot could think that there's not a higher consciousness of some kind. How did we get here? Why are we here? There has to be a reason. And to deny that is saying that there is no reason for us to be here, and that's like saying, I'm dead. So there has to be. As far as where do you pray, as I said, this is a sticky subject. This is probably going to upset some people. But I have a real problem with most organized religions, because I believe that most organized religions are people who don't have the faith to believe on their own and are gathering together so they can convince each other that they're right. And I personally, I go to church on Tuesdays, Thursdays. I love churches. I think they're beautiful buildings, and they do bring me closer to God. But I go there when there's not other people there, because I don't need or even want other people telling me what to believe. And the main place that I pray is in nature. I've always loved the mountains, and I think the reason I've loved the mountains so much is because it's God's greatest creation, and you just feel so close to the infinite when you're there that you can sit in the middle of a field in a mountain pasture surrounded by trees and snow-capped peaks and eagles flying over, and know what God really is, and know what spirituality really is, and know what life is really all about. And whenever I have a problem or I feel bad, that's where I retreat to. And it's almost always by myself. It's the only way that I can really spiritually connect with what's there.
Len, this is a hard question. There's a lot of people that believe that running into a burning building to save somebody is a sign of a hero or a soldier that's out on the front lines that gives his life. Those people are definitely heroes and doing a wonderful thing to save another person's life, but a lot of times sacrificing your life for something, for a principle or for a goal, is a lot harder to define, and it's a lot harder to do because it just doesn't take adrenaline like it does running into a burning building or being in a battle as a soldier. What are you willing to sacrifice your life for?
I would sacrifice my life. What am I willing to sacrifice my life for? I think I would hope that any situation that arose that required that to save someone else's life, I would jump to the occasion. I don't really know that, but I feel that a true hero is anyone who gives selflessly out of love for anything. We spoke about this before. What would I give my life for? Or what would I consider myself to do selflessly? Anything that it took to keep my children safe. My children are my world, and I think we're put on this world to create other lives that can be better than ours and make them better. I think that the reason that we were put here is to help those that go beyond us be better than we were. And we can only do that by loving them and helping them through it and being there for them when they need us, and trying to raise them in a way that they can go on to help other people be even better than they are. And if everybody had that in mind, I think there would be no war, there would be no starvation, no poverty. There's enough in this world to go around. There's more than enough to go around. There is no reason for anybody being hungry. There's no reason for any of the stuff that goes on. All this war crap is mostly over religion, which is another reason I am against organized religions. Why does one religion have to say that they're right and therefore we're going to kill all you? I mean, just to prove that they're right? Is that any different than going into a church and gathering around each other and patting each other on the back to say that, yes, we're right? It's all crazy. We need to love each other. We need to accept each other's differences and allow each other to be different. And I think it's our responsibility to foster that in our children. And if everybody, or if the majority, fostered that in their children, and they did the same through procreation. I mean, we have more than one child generally. Through procreation, the world would continually become a better and better place until there was none of this crap left. And I think that's the only thing worth sacrificing yourself for is to try and you can't change the world. You can only do it a few people at a time, and then those people have to be within your family group because you really don't have the control to do it for anybody else. So that's who I would sacrifice and do sacrifice myself for, and love every minute of it. That's
a very interesting answer, and I agree that there's been more people killed in the name of religion than probably anything else. And it's sad to think that all the great teachers and all of the people that created these religions, their whole statement is that you should show kindness, you should love others, and yet there's individuals that take it out of context and say, if you don't believe the way that we will, we're going to violate what the teacher told us to say, and so we're going to just end up killing you because you're not going to accept our particular way. It is absurd. And so a lot of times people's goals conflict with their beliefs. Are your goals consistent with your beliefs?
I hope so. My beliefs are that I'm put here to do something, and the only thing that I can think of that I'm here to do is to help a few people get by. I'm trying to help as many as I can, but we talked about it earlier. If you can change the life of one person, and I truly believe this, and I think this is something that most people don't understand. They think on such grand scales that they could never really achieve it. But if you can change the life of one person for the better, if you can help one person, whether that's your children or your neighbor or whoever it happens to be, if you can impact that person positively for their life, it changed their life in some way, then you are more than successful. That to me is the epitome of success, and that's my beliefs, and I am trying one person at a time to help people. My main goal is to make sure that my children are loved and grow up to be positive and not prejudiced and want to be the same way with their children. But at the same time, I try my best to help my clients and people that I come across and friends and even strangers that just look like they need somebody to talk to. I think that's the best thing that you can do with your life is help whoever you can, where you can. And I hope I'm living that. I'm trying to, but that's my belief. So,
Len, is it valuable to have highly charged emotions about achieving your goals and your dreams?
I think achieving anything is emotional. I think you have to be emotional in order to get anywhere. If you don't have any emotion, then you don't have any energy, and it takes energy to accomplish anything. I think goals and dreams are where the problem comes in that what are your goals and dreams? People set unreal expectations. I don't adhere to the theory that you've got to set a goal at making $1 million in order to make $1 million. I think that making $1 million in and of itself is pointless. I think your goals should be set to be happy, and whatever it is that makes you happy will come. You need to find an avenue that you can follow. We all have to work somehow at something. So I think you have to find something that you can do that you love, and family has to be a very high priority in everything. But I believe that if you, as I said before, the law of reciprocity, if you find something that you love and you continue to try and help people better themselves through whatever it is that you do, it will come back to you and you will have everything you need. And if you're happy, then you're successful. So I think that the goals that we set are not as important as the happiness that we need to attain. And I've known people who were penniless who were just ecstatically happy, and because they had love and they loved each other and they had their family. And what else is there in life? You can only spend so much money, and it's great to go on cruises and do all this stuff, and I enjoy it. I do it. I make enough money to do that. But I think the money has come to me because I have tried to help a number of people, and it brings people to me wanting me to help them. And it comes. It's like I said, it's reciprocity. So I think if your goals are to be happy and help other people, then money and everything else will come to you. It's inescapable.
Everybody in life has setbacks, misfortunes, and makes mistakes. How important is it to take a positive view of those things that look like failures or just really, or setbacks that it's hard to comprehend why it actually happened? How important is it to take a positive view of the things that aren't going right in your life?
Wow, how important is it? It's everything. We as humans can be taught by other people all day long and never learn a thing. But you learn from your mistakes, and we have to make mistakes. someone told me if you're not successful, it's because you haven't made enough mistakes. You're not trying hard enough, and it's very true. The more mistakes you make, the more you fail, the more successful you will be, if you learn from those mistakes. I think I've seen a lot of people make the same mistakes over and over again. And it's because they're not willing to learn from the mistakes that they made or admit that there may be a better way. But it is the only way we can learn. And I think having a positive attitude, instead of saying I failed, as Edison said, instead of saying I failed, let's just say I found another way that didn't work, and move on and remember that and move on to something else. I think it's imperative. It's the only way that you can get ahead in life. Otherwise, you're stuck in the same rut and you'll never get out of it.
Well, in light of that question and overcoming those and learning from the mistakes that you've had, how important is it to have optimism? Is optimism valuable in overcoming those problems?
I think optimism is very important, but I overheard you interviewing someone else, a lady I greatly admire, and she had an answer that I absolutely adhere to. I think optimism, pure optimism, is foolish. I think you have to be realistic, and my people, there are people in my family who feel the exact opposite. They feel that pessimists are never disappointed. So I think somewhere in the middle is the truth. I think you have to weigh one against the other. You have to be optimistic in order to get anywhere in life, but being overly optimistic or stupidly optimistic is a recipe for failure. So I think you have to look at both sides of the coin. You have to know the possibilities of failure, and you have to be willing to accept that failure. But the optimism comes in accepting that failure in a way that will help you get ahead the next time. It's okay to fail as long as you continue to strive. You know, one step back, two step forward is fine, and that's the way most of us work and most of us learn. So, yes, you have to be optimistic. You have to look at the world in a sense that you can get ahead. You have to, it really comes down to you have to believe in yourself. Any way you look at it, that's optimism. It's not this rosy-colored glasses view of the world that everything is beautiful, and that's what everybody thinks optimism is. It's really just believing in yourself and knowing that you're going to fall down, but that you're going to get back up. That's optimism, and that every time you get back up, you're going to take another step forward. And if you've got that dedication and that kind of optimism, then it's imperative that optimism be there.
Len, do you maintain a sense of humor in the face of serious problems? I know a lot of times in events that occur in people's lives, it's either laugh or cry. How important do you think a sense of humor is?
I think it's important to have both. I think it's important to laugh and cry. I think that if you do nothing but laugh in the face of danger, or laugh in the face of adversity, laugh in the face of loss, then eventually all those hurt feelings, all that down feeling will build up and make you crazy. I mean, it will come back to just make you a basket case. Crying is something that most men feel that they can't do, and that's really unfortunate that we were raised that way. But fortunately, I was raised by my mother only, so I was never raised that way. Crying was okay. But there is no such release as a good cry when you're really feeling down. It just cleanses your entire body. So, and at the same time, you can't walk around crying all the time either. I think you have to maintain a sense of humor in the face of what's going on, but not to the point where you can't let your emotions show. I believe that humor too often is there to mask the feelings that people are really having, male and female. So it's really important to do both when the time calls for it. And if you're ashamed to cry, then do it on your own, away from people. If not, which is probably the best way anyway, so people won't look at you weird. But it's really important not to hold those feelings in and not to try and laugh everything off, which I see too many people do.
Len, did you find it was valuable to invest time in daydreaming about what your life would eventually be like when you attained your dream and achieved your goals?
I'm really not sure if daydreaming helps or hurts. You can really get lost in the dreams. I think you have to have a clear vision of the direction you want to go in, and I think you have to have a clear vision of what will make you happy, and I think that's really all that's important. Dreaming about it, daydreaming about it, thinking about it, obsessing about it, I'm not sure that doesn't just hurt rather than help. I think you really need to have a strategy. You have to have a roadmap that you come up with that's going to get you to the next level. And I think you have to, and this flies in the face of what so many of my peers say, I think you have to take it one level at a time. I think you have to have a roadmap to that next level, and you have to follow it, and you have to go for it. And in the back of your mind, you're always going to know where you want to go next, and you never can stop. One of the problems about having dreams and goals and so forth is that once you reach those, assuming you do, now what do you do? You know, I think you have to continue. You can never stop, and if you set goals, finite goals, then that's a recipe for saying, okay, I'm done. You know, I finished it. I did what I wanted. I'm through. Yay me. You know, it doesn't work that way. People who are successful, people who continue on, people who, the Bill Gates and so forth of this world, the Armin Morans of this world, are never happy with where they are. There is always more to do, and they're very satisfied with what they have done, but there's always more to do. And I think you have to look at life that way, regardless of what it's about, whether it's business, family, friends. It doesn't matter. You can never love anybody enough. You know, that to say I'm going to love my children until they know they're loved. I'm going to make sure they know they're loved. That's like saying, well, when they figure that out, I'm done. You know, you can never love anybody too much. You can never work too hard. You can never get to a place where enough is enough. We're here to do everything we can until we die, and I think that's the way you have to go. As long as you keep that inside and continue to go on, then your life will be full. You'll always have something to shoot for. You'll always have something that you're trying to work towards, and if we run out of things to work towards, then we die. And think about it. How many people have had loved ones that their whole life was wrapped around that loved one? And what does that mean? That means that it was wrapped around making that person happy. They loved them so much that their entire life meant, I want you to be happy, and I'm going to spend my life making you happy. It doesn't end. It never stops. I will make you happy forever, and happier and happier and happier, and that's their goal in life. When that person dies, they usually die shortly thereafter because they have nothing to live for anymore. So I don't think that you can set goals in that sense. I think your goal needs to be always to go farther, to never stop and never reach the end of the road. I think the end of the road is a death sentence.
Len, do you feel it's important to make positive statements about your future and your goals?
I feel that it's important to believe in yourself, and the only way that you can believe in yourself is to be positive about where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Positive statements, I think too many people take that out of context and feel that if I tell my friend I'm going to quit smoking, then that means I'll quit because I'll be shamed into doing so. And that just means that when they don't, then they're going to feel bad about themselves. So what is a positive statement? Positive statement is I believe in myself. And if you believe in yourself, then all things are possible. Then it really comes down to what is it you want to do. And you will do whatever you want to do if you believe you can. So positive statements in a sense that it helps you keep track of knowing that you can get there, that it helps you keep track of believing in yourself, yes, but positive statements as in speak it and it will happen, I don't believe in that. I think that's cooked up by the gurus out there that are selling these self-help books that don't work. I think you have to believe in yourself, period. And if you believe it, then it will happen. So, and whatever it takes to get there. But
Well, Len, I wanted to ask you this question about the subconscious. I know you're quite aware about what goes on in the mind and how powerful the subconscious is. Do you take time to feed your subconscious? Everything needs food, and it seems that the subconscious is the primary factor that determines how successful we are in what we do. It's sort of the thing working behind the scenes that gets things done. What do you do to feed your subconscious?
Feeding the subconscious. I think the conscious is fed by the subconscious, not the other way around. I don't think that we feed the subconscious. The subconscious is the door that's open to all that is. The subconscious is where ideas come from. The subconscious is where creativity comes from. The subconscious is where inventions come from, songs come from, anything that's creative and inventive comes from the subconscious, and then it's fed to the conscious. And the conscious is then, if it's open to it, allowed to make that into a reality. I honestly don't believe that we have to feed the subconscious. We have to feed the conscious. We have to allow the subconscious to do its thing. I think it's inherent of the way life is, that if we cut off that connection between the two, then we're robots and we don't get anything done except what the boss tells us to do. People who are entrepreneurs, people who get over adversity, people who become successful, people who invent things, are all people who have opened that door between the subconscious and the conscious and allow that thought to flow. When I was younger, I was a songwriter, singer and songwriter, and I played bars and stuff like that, but I wrote a lot of songs, and the majority of the songs that I wrote were written while I was asleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I would hammer on my guitar all day, trying to hammer out a song. I could not get it. I'd have a melody, I'd have an idea for the lyrics, but I just couldn't make them work. I'd go to sleep, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, about 4 in the morning, and write down the lyrics for the song. It's because that door is automatically opened when you're asleep. So if you can train yourself to let that door be open when you're awake, then the thought processes that go on lets that unconscious ideas feed into the consciousness, where the conscious can then, it's like a machine, the consciousness can then make that a reality by, it's like the subconscious draws the blueprint, and then the conscious is the factory that hammers out the product. So you have to be open to that. Feeding it, I don't feed my subconscious, I relax my subconscious. When I've had a stressful day or whatever, I relax. I listen to Windham Hill and Narada and different soft jazz and classical music when I go to sleep. I turn it on and I go to sleep to it. And it soothes my subconscious and opens that door. It allows all the crap from, because there is a reverse polarity there, where if you've got too much crap in your conscious, it can feed back into your subconscious. That's where nightmares come from. That's where all that happens. So by soothing it instead of feeding it with music, and my way is music. There are lots of other techniques. I was talking to a lady at dinner last night who is putting out some CDs with her, basically hypnotherapy, small snippets of hypnosis that allow you to overcome different situations that you've gone through and relax and so forth. She's got different things for different ones, but I think it's a genius idea. But however you do it, whether it's even through certain herbs or whatever, or it's through music, or some people can just zone out by watching a movie and let all the crap go away, whatever it takes. I think it's not so much feeding the subconscious as it is soothing the subconscious so that it can get back to doing its job. And I believe that we really are controlled by our subconscious to a great degree.
Len, how important is it to have the courage to pursue new ideas? I know a lot of people just can't do anything. They're paralyzed by making any changes in their lives. How important is it to have courage?
Honestly, Ralph, for me, it's not a matter of courage. It's a matter of necessity. And I don't know how it is for everyone. I'm a very creative person. I've been all my life. And if I'm not creating, which means coming up with ideas and trying them, whether they be music or new products or software or writing a book, I've got a novel, I mean, regardless, if I'm not creating something, I'm miserable. But that's just me. I think, I don't think it takes courage to create something or to try something new or to create something. I think it's, what it is people that feel like they don't have the courage to do it are really afraid of failure. It's not fear of the unknown. It's not fear of changing. It's not fear of trying something new. It's fear of failure. If they don't make it, then what? If you have a great idea and you need to quit your job to do it, it's not a fear of what will happen if I create this thing or if I go down that road. It's a fear of what if I fail and then I don't have my job. So I think that all really comes back to believing in yourself again. If you believe that you can do it, you can do it. What the mind can conceive, the body can do. I mean, that's just the way it is. It is a proven fact over the millennium. There's no doubt in anybody who thinks about its mind that if you truly believe, now that means believing down to your toenails. That's not telling yourself, "Yep, I can do it. Yep, yep, yep." That's not the way it works. But if you truly believe in your soul that you can do something, then there's no question. And then it takes, I don't know if courage is the word, but it would take more courage not to do it than it would to do it, because how could you live with yourself if you didn't? I couldn't. I mean, I absolutely couldn't. If I have an idea that I feel is something I need to do and I don't do it, then for the rest of my life I'll wonder why. I think you just have to believe in yourself, and you have to. Unfortunately, I think we're brought up not to believe in ourselves, as an American culture especially. I'm not sure that it's that way worldwide, but in America, we're brought up to work for somebody else, to not think for ourselves, to never believe in yourself, basically, beyond the fact that you can do what you're told. And I think that's totally wrong. And somehow we've got to change that in our children and in society in general, and let everybody believe in themselves. Because it's okay to work for someone else, but you got to believe in yourself. You got to know that that's what you want to do. Not because you have to, or that you're not good enough to do anything else. And that's where the fear comes in. So trying something new, I think, is essential for everybody at all times. Otherwise, your life gets stagnant, and then what's the point? But it's fear of failure more than anything else, and that can only be overcome by believing in yourself.
As a creative person, you definitely make a lot of quick decisions. How important and how beneficial is it to make decisions quickly?
I'm not really sure that I would categorize it as making decisions quickly, but what I would say is it's essential to act on things when they come up. It's been my experience over my entire life that ideas come and go, things happen, but they're fleeting, very fleeting. And if you don't act on them right now, they're gone. I can't count the number of ideas that have come to me that I didn't bother to write down or act on or whatever, and they were gone forever. Opportunities and ideas, creativity, creation in general are things that are floating around in the cosmos. I mean, it sounds cryptic and weird, but I don't know any other way to put it, and that's not really the way I look at it, but I can't really put it into words. They're there, and they're like little birds that are just flying around, and they're constantly lighting on your shoulder. And if you don't grab that bird when it lights and make it your pet, make it your own, then it's going to fly away and light on somebody else. That's why so many people have had ideas that they didn't do anything on, and not just to find out that a month later somebody else did it instead. I mean, it's not that we're such geniuses that we were the ones that thought of this. It's just the idea came to us. And if you don't take that and act on it quickly, and there would be you're making decisions quickly, then it'll go someplace else, and somebody else will. So making decisions quickly, I'm not sure it's so much, as I said, decisions as it is acting on opportunities, thoughts. it's knowing yourself. You can have a thought that I want to kill somebody, and that's not something you obviously want to act on real quick. But it's a difference between knowing. It's a difference between your believing in yourself and knowing what is a good opportunity and what it is that you need to act on and not. And obviously, the bad things you shouldn't act on. But you need to be open to the positive, and then when positive things come to you, then I think you do need to act quickly, at least decisively, if not quickly. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to create whatever it is immediately, but you do need to start the process, or it will go away and become somebody else's.
Len, in your life, you've done a lot of different projects, and some have been successful and some have not been. Once you make that decision to go down that trail, how valuable do you think it is to be slow to revise or reverse an important decision?
I think it's imperative to always be open to change. I can't think of a single success that I've ever had that has ever ended up the way it started out. When I have an idea for a new project, whatever it happens to be, it invariably becomes so much more and so different in the end that it would be totally unidentifiable with what I started out with. So I think you need to be open to changes that present themselves. In the course of creation, things are constantly changing. They're constantly in a state of flux where you make one thing, you do one thing, and it creates another problem or it creates another situation. And if you look at that situation and say, okay, now how can I better what I've done already by looking at this situation, and then take that into account, it's continually evolving and changing. And when you reach the final addition, the final subject of what it is that you're doing, whether that be a book or writing or job, whatever you're doing, even writing a theme paper at school or whatever, you have to be open to those changes. Then you will end up with a far better result than you would have if you stick to what it was to begin with. And there have been so many software products and ebooks that I've done, and if I had stuck with my original idea and refused to change, they would never have been successful, because it was the end product that made them special. And there have been so many times that I have failed to make things done because I wasn't willing to make that change and so forth. So yes, it's absolutely essential that you're open to change, and then basically that you go with the flow. You just be open to what comes up. And my career has been one of being open to what comes up, not just in my software creation or my newsletter or anything, but back to the days of construction, and I owned an art gallery, and all the things that have happened to me, my entire life has been one of being open to what came up. I mean, how do you make the jump from being a carpenter to being an art gallery, owning an art gallery? And it's because I was open to what happened. I was a closet photographer at first, and then it became my passion, and I needed a place to sell my stuff, so I ended up with an art gallery. I mean, and the art gallery led me to the internet, because I was trying to publish the works of art online when the internet was in its infancy. And I mean, one thing has led to another, but if I wasn't open to those things, I'd still be driving nails right now, because I was making a good living driving nails. But I had passions that I had to follow, and I had to be open to them, and everything happens for a reason, and you need to follow what comes along. So.
Boy, Lynn, that's really inspirational, to follow your passion and just have self-confidence. I know that, the world and just the educational system seeks to destroy your self-confidence and destroy your ability to pursue your dreams or even believe that you can. And it's a horrible thing to be paralyzed by fears and self-doubts. How do you overcome fears and self-doubts? Because it's something that everybody deals with on a daily basis.
I don't allow fear to rule me. I face my fears head on. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember. The scareder I am, the more apt I am to jump in the face of that fear. And I honestly don't know where it came from, but I know it to be true. somehow, somewhere along the line, I realized or was taught that the only way to overcome your fears is to face them. And invariably, the only thing there is to fear is fear itself. It's an old saying, but it is very, very true. How many times have we all been afraid of whatever, just to be suddenly forced into a situation where we didn't have any choice but to face it, and then realize, what the hell was I so afraid of? You know, it happens all the time. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with bone cancer when I was about 6 years old, and it basically just went away on its own. Nobody knows what it was, what happened, but they put me in the hospital. They did all these surgeries on me, and they were constantly sticking me with needles, and to the point where my father at one point grabbed a doctor and literally threw him into the hall and said, "Leave my son alone." But I mean, I was, for most of my life, and to this day, I'm afraid of needles. I have a fear of needles because of that. But you know, it doesn't keep me from going to the doctor. And when they tell me I get a shot, I don't run out the door. You know, you face your fears, and every time it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. You know, regardless of what it is. I think it comes back to what I said a little while ago. Most of us are afraid of failure more than anything else. So in most cases, the fears that we have are a fear of not being able to perform whatever it is that we feel we should perform in any given situation. And you have to face those fears and just do it anyway. And most of the time you will overcome those fears, and if nothing else, it will help build self-confidence so that when something else arises, you're not as paralyzed by it. You get to a point where you realize, yeah, it scares me. My heart's beating really fast, but I know I'm going to survive this. And I know tomorrow I'm going to wake up and say, what was I scared of? And the next day when I'm faced with something, I'm going to be more self-confident and be less afraid. So I think the only way to answer your question, the only way to deal with fear is to face it head on and realize that it's just the fear itself that we're afraid of. So.
Len, in our lives, we come across a lot of people even in our own family, that upset, offend, and oppose us. How important is forgiveness in forgiving those who upset, offend, and oppose us?
Wow, forgiveness is a strange thing. It's a strange concept even. When you are truly hurt by something, you're scarred. I don't believe there's anybody who truthfully can deny that. So what is forgiveness? Do you ever really forgive those who really hurt you? I don't think so. I think somewhere down deep, you never truly forgive them. But what there is there's acceptance. You get to a point where you don't want to hurt them, you don't want to get back at them, there's no retribution involved. It's acceptance. But forgiveness, I'm not sure that really is a reality. I don't really think there is. Jesus may have said forgive, but I'm not sure that he didn't mean accept. I don't think you can truly forgive. I mean, forgive means that it's okay. And it was never okay. It will never be okay that you hurt me. It will never be okay. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. But to say, I can accept that you did it and I will not hold it against you any longer, I will love you anyway, that's acceptance. That's not forgiveness. So I think there's a fine line there. The silliness of, it's okay. It's not okay. So we're going to get hurt through our whole lives. It's going to happen. People will always stand in your way. And most of those people, I think a lot of it is, it's really in understanding where they're coming from. People who stand in your way and tell you can't do something, or you'll never be able to do that, or what's the matter with you, go get a job, whatever the situation happens to be, or people who have no self-reliance of their own. They don't believe in themselves, and if they can't do it, then you certainly can't. And they can't give you the benefit of the doubt. So it's their problem, really. It's not yours. So in those kinds of hurting situations, I don't think it's a matter of forgiveness. It's a matter of accepting that it's their problem. And you have to just say, I'm not going to let them keep me in my place because they can't get out of theirs. And that's really what it comes down to. And the real hurts, the ones that scar us to the bone, as I said, I don't think there's ever really any forgiveness. There's acceptance, and I think that's where love comes in. You have to love them enough at some point to let go of the anger. But the forgiveness, I don't really think it really exists.
Len, do you experience service to others as a source of joy?
There again, service. What does that mean? Do I like to see people happy for things that I do for them? Absolutely. I live for... I was here when you interviewed Donna. Donna said she enjoyed that spark she saw in people's eye, or that aha moment. I too. I mean, I can't agree with her more. I live for those moments of clarity, where something, and it's not when you're trying to teach somebody how to make a website or something, and they say aha. It's the inside moments where they suddenly realize I can do this. You know, it's where they suddenly gain a measure of self-confidence in themselves in little things, because all those little pieces of self-confidence build up to become I can do anything at some point. So those are the victories, and if that's service to others, then absolutely, I live for that. And my children, when they have my kids are... I was a math whiz when I was in school. It was the only subject I liked, and I barely made it through anything else. But there was just something about math that just intrigued me, because it was such an exact science, and everything was always the way it was going to be, and there was nothing you could do to change it. And I used to love to come up with theories and theorems that would blow my teachers away. They were totally different than what they taught me to arrive at the same place. They would teach me to do multiplication and division one way, and I would do it the other way. You know, I would multiply from the left to the right instead of the right to the, you know, just because I enjoyed it. It was fun to play with those kind of things. But my two girls have a problem with math. Their mother is not real good at math, and I guess they inherited that. I don't know, but to see the look in their eye when I can explain something in a different way, that it just suddenly makes sense, and they can say, "Oh, I get it." And then you know that from that point on, they're thinking they can't do this. And now they know they can. So that self-confidence is built up, and it shows in all of their schoolwork. Because now they know if they can just understand it, if somebody can just explain it the right way, then they can do it. And there's no question in their minds. That's self-confidence. It's those moments that make my life worthwhile, whether it's with my clients, my people I'm coaching, friends that I'm trying to help or explain something to, family members, whatever. If that's service, then absolutely I live for that. I don't see it as service. I see it as necessity. I see it, that's what life is about, and that's what we're here for. So.
Well, Len, you know, everybody goes through some low points in their lives. When was the lowest point in your life, and how did you overcome that low point? What was the way that you achieved victory over the obstacles that you had at that time?
Wow, what was the low point of my life? I honestly don't know what the low point of my life was. I went through a really tough childhood and adolescence and early adulthood, but truthfully, it was all self-imposed. It stems from my father and mother got divorced, and it's the same old story, and that's not even, in most people's eyes, worth getting upset over. You know, how could you let your life get destroyed over something like that? I was 11 years old, I think, and it devastated me, and I blame my mother, and I spent years trying to get back at her, trying to get even. And I know that now, and I've apologized to her many times, but I put her through hell. And I did it by ruining my life. I got into drugs. I drank. I was constantly getting arrested. I was in trouble with the law. I mean, it was just terrible. I ran with the wrong crowd. I dropped out of school. I evaded the draft. I mean, I did everything that a kid could possibly do wrong. And I didn't really know it at the time, but I look back now and I realize that subconsciously I was trying to get back at not just her, but both of them for ruining my life. And in retrospect, it's probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me that they broke up. My father turned out to be something else. But the low point of my life was that's what caused the low points in my life. It was that self-imposed self-destruction that caused the low points. But when I actually hit bottom, I honestly am not real sure the exact date, but I was homeless, starving. I could barely get. I was a very talented carpenter, but I couldn't keep a job long enough to really eat or anything else. I was feeding my drug habits and stuff more than anything. And I was living in a van that I had, an old beat-up van that had a broken shifter, and I mean, it was terrible. It was pretty lousy. But as I said, it was self-defense. At some point, I just woke up and said, enough is enough. And that was it. I mean, I have never in my entire life believed or felt like I couldn't do anything I wanted to. I just didn't want to, and I knew that. On some level, I knew that, and I always knew that I could do anything I wanted to. And at some point, I got tired of beating myself up for no reason. I mean, it was just plain stupid, and I knew it. And at some point, I said, okay, that's enough. You're done now. And the day I did that, life changed. I immediately went out and got a job, normal job, and cleaned myself up. And then before I knew it, I was a general contractor and had my own crews. And it was just a matter of applying myself. But it was, I think, I see it so often in young people that are, I think they're really subconsciously trying to get back at somebody else by hurting themselves, because somehow it converts into, if I hurt myself bad enough, you'll be sorry, which is just totally stupid. But I know that's where I was and what I did, and once I had enough, I'd had enough. And I don't know. I guess my mom is one of the greatest women that ever lived. She is a very special woman. She, through all of it, bailed me out of jail, never really complained too much. She just took care of everything. I have a brother and a sister. She worked 3 jobs to keep us in a middle class home that we couldn't afford. She didn't have to do any of the stuff that she did, but she felt it was her place in life to raise her kids and give them the best life that they could, and just love them. And through it all, I guess I did enough rebelling for the rest of the family, because my other 2 kids were perfect. My brother and sister were, you've met my brother. He's an executive type. He's got a PhD. He's just everything that I probably should have been. But I put myself through it, and I know it was to hurt her, and I am truly sorry for it now. But I guess in reality, it's something I had to go through to be who I am now. I wouldn't put my mother through that for anything in the world again. But if I had it to do it all over again just to me, I probably would do it the same way. Because in truth, all the problems I had with drugs and alcohol and going to jail and getting in fights, and I mean all the stupid things I did, they made me who I am. They made me know that I have experienced this for a reason, and that I have to help other people, and I have to try and show people that there's a better way, and that it's stupid to do these kind of things. And I know I can't keep people from going down the same road I can, but maybe I can save one person. Maybe I can let them see that you don't have to do what I did in order to redeem yourself to yourself, because that's really all it is. So the low point of my life was at some point in my 20s, when I decided enough was enough and had just hit rock bottom, and just made the decision that was it, and I pulled myself, and it didn't take long. And I don't think that anybody who has any intelligence, it would ever take long to pull out of that. It's just making that decision, and that's what happened to me.
Wow, that's a pretty amazing story. I sort of went through the same thing. I figured, I was angry at my dad for the way that he treated me when I was growing up, so I figured, well, you'll be sorry when I hurt myself or kill myself. And it just seemed I got myself involved in extreme sports and had one bad injury or one big mistake or made stupid mistakes and got involved with drugs. It was just like, gee, I think I'll just destroy my life to get back at you. Now that I look at it same as you, it's just like, gee, what was I thinking at that time? Was there anybody that helped you to give you the willpower to make changes at that time, or did you just come up with it on your own?
Honestly, it was on my own. I was too messed up to let anybody get close enough to me to help me. There were a lot of people who loved me and wanted to help me and were constantly trying to help me. My brothers, my sisters, my aunts, my uncles, my best friends, my girlfriends. I was married 4 times through all this because I couldn't keep a wife. God, some of those women were incredible. I look back on it now, what an idiot I was. It's like a country song says, I know what I was feeling, but what the heck was I thinking, what was I thinking? But no, there were plenty of people who would have helped me if I'd have let them. But I think most people who find themselves in a situation of hitting rock bottom, you couldn't hit rock bottom if you allowed people to help you. There's always going to be people who want to help you. I mean, even if it's just the local pastor or a neighbor's father or whatever. I mean, there's always people that care. But if you get that low, it's because you refuse to let anybody, because you are bound and determined to ruin yourself. And if you are lucky enough to live through it, then you will eventually hit rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom, you know it. I mean, it's not. Am I there yet? There's no question. You know, the day that happens, it's time. I'm done. This is it. Enough's enough. And it doesn't mean that all your problems go away, but it's the start of the recovery. And I would love to be able to say that somebody saved me, but if anything saved me, there always have been countless stories. I'm a musician. I love music. There have always been countless ballads and stories about people who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. And if anything saved me, it was probably those types of things that kept hammering in my head. You only have to live this way as long as you decide, and then when you've decided to change, it will change. And so, I guess you could say I was helped by thousands of people who had gone before me and actually done it. People who had worse lives than I had. People who lived in all kinds of horrible situations and gangs and everything that managed to pull themselves out of it. Stephen Pierce is a prime example of that. He had it much worse than I did. So it's hard for me to feel sorry for myself at this point. But back then, I felt like I was the lowest guy on the earth. And I guess it was stories of people that were inescapable. They're everywhere around you that finally sunk in enough to let me know you don't have to do this anymore and you can do whatever you want, which I never really questioned. So I changed from what I wanted instead of wanting to die, and that's not true. I never wanted to die. I didn't. I was not suicidal. If I wanted to die, I'd have been dead. I mean, I could have said, okay, I'll show you, I'll die, and then shot myself in the head. That's not what I wanted, I wanted, for whatever reason, to suffer, and I did a good job at it. And I wanted those around me to suffer, too. And when I got tired of suffering, I said, okay, and that was that. And it was just knowing that I could and knowing that other people had done it. I don't think you can ever be too far gone where you can't crawl out. But you just have to make up your mind that it's time. And when that time comes, it's not that difficult to crawl out. You just have to believe that you can.
Len, how important was it to believe that your financial dreams had come true?
Really, Ralph, my financial dreams have not come true. They never will come true. I don't really have financial dreams. I want to be able to give my family everything they want. I want to not have to worry about how I'm going to pay the bills. I want to not have to worry. You know what I want? And I said this You know why I became successful? When I became successful? When my oldest daughter was born, and she was not when she was born. She was about 2 years old. And she came and she asked me, I don't even remember what it was she wanted, but she wanted something. And I couldn't afford it. And I told her I couldn't afford it. Well, I'm sorry, but we can't afford it. And I told my wife that night, I felt so bad, so bad. I told my wife that night, I will never, ever have to tell my child I can't afford it again. Not that I'll give them everything that they want, ever. I mean, I don't think that you should spoil your kids. But I will never have to tell them I can't afford it again. And I made that promise to myself and to my wife that day, and I never have. I've never had to again. I busted my ass to make sure that would never happen again. And it was almost an overnight thing. I mean, I turned the gallery around instantly. I got into the internet stuff very shortly thereafter. I ran the gallery, and during the day, and my wife ran it. It was in a mall, so it was day and night. And she ran it at night, and I went home and worked on the internet and took care of the kids. And I raised my kids from the time they were in diapers, which is the most important thing to me. And that's the reason that I do what I do right now. It's because I was always been able to be there for them. I've never had to farm them out to anybody, and I never will. But that day, I told myself, you'll never have to tell her I can't afford it again. And I haven't. And that's the driving force that keeps me going. So I will never reach my aspirations of enough money because I don't think there is such a thing. But I don't really have any goal or set aspirations because all I really want is to never have to tell them I can't afford it, never be able to have to worry about paying a bill, where the money's going to come from, and to be able to take them to Disney World or on cruises or to Hawaii or whatever when I feel it's time to get away. And that's the only thing that money means to me. I suppose it would be great to leave them a fortune in the end, but I'm not really sure that's a good thing either. I mean, look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates is one of the richest men in the world, and he's not leaving his kids his money. He's giving it away to charity because he knows it's not a good thing to endow that on somebody. Make them make it on their own. Give them enough to make them be able to get by and comfortable. You don't want to stick them in the ghetto, but I don't think that it's good to do that to a kid. I think you need to raise them to be self-sufficient and teach them to do it on their own. And my girls are learning how to make websites and stuff now at their young age of 8 and 10. They both got their own websites. And I fully intend for them to be able to move into the business if that's what they want to do. I'll give them that opportunity. But how much money I make is just enough to do whatever, because you can't take it with you anyway. So anything that's left, I mean, if I were to become extremely wealthy, I would probably give it away to charity too, because you have to give it and use it where it's best needed, and I think there are too many people that need it more than my girls do, as long as they're comfortable, and that's my goal.
Well, Lynn, you've had a really interesting life. I know that some of the stuff we can't really tell that you've shared with me in this interview. But what is your definition of heroism?
I think I said it earlier. I don't think I put it in the words of heroism, but heroism is a tricky word. I don't believe it means people pulling people out of burning fires, although that is very, very much a heroism. I think a hero is someone who sacrifices anything for someone that they love, on any level, whatever level they can. Even if it's just giving up a meal so that someone you love can have it, a small thing like that, or doing without something that you really want so that your child can have something that they need, or those things are heroism to me. Mothers literally giving up their lives. I think I told you earlier, my hero is my mother, and I think anybody who loves anybody that much, and she loved all three of her children that much, to give up literally everything is amazing. So that's what I would have to say is my term.
Well, Lynn, you've had a pretty interesting life, and you've been involved with a lot of different types of groups of people. I was just curious, who are the heroes in your life now?
Now in my life, my mother is still will always be my hero more than anything else. She's the reason I'm on this earth to begin with. She's the reason that I survived the years I was trying to destroy myself. And she's the reason that I live right now. I came back to where I live here in Georgia to be near her because she was ill, and I wanted to take care of her, and I wanted to try and give back some of what she had given me, and make sure that her grandchildren knew what a special lady she was. As far as current people that I look up to, I think in this industry, the internet industry, there are so many people who have literally pulled themselves up from the bootstraps that it's amazing. Stephen Pierce, who the story everybody knows the story, was shot and was homeless. Very similar to my story, only I wasn't shot, and he had it much worse than I did. Armin Morin, who came from the wrong side of the tracks, who is now a multimillionaire, and it goes on and on. There are just so many people who decided, basically, I think we all decided that we're just totally unemployable. There's no way that any of us can work for anybody else. So we don't have any choice. We have to make it. And we have. We've made a living at it. Some better than others. Most of those better than I. But, I still make a real good living. But those are my heroes. Those are the people I look up to. People who have made the decision that they don't, not that they don't want to work for somebody, but they know in their heart they can't work for somebody else. That they are entrepreneurs at heart, which basically means they're creative, that they have an energy force in them that will not be denied, that they cannot put that aside. It's not that they can't work for someone else, it's that they can't deny that. It's like a singer who doesn't sing, decides not to sing, or an actor, a really good, talented actor who has a passion that can't act all of a sudden. There's no reason to live. You cannot deny it if you are one of those unemployable people. You have to follow your dreams. And many who are, that brings up another thing. Who are my real heroes? I think my real heroes, and I don't know any of them personally, but I think my real heroes would have to be the people that follow their dreams because they have to and never make it, because they are so dedicated that they can't quit. I think that's the epitome of dedication. If you never even reach your dream, but you continue to have to go for it, you just can't stop. That's dedication like there is nothing like that out there. It's an amazing level of dedication, and those would have to be my real heroes. And I was one of them for a long, long time. And I think I am proof that you can strive for something that you believe in for a long time and never make it, and if you keep trying, eventually you probably will. And to what level? You asked me what my level of how much money is enough and all that. It's really not important. I make a good living. I'm not rich, but I make a good living. And I do something that I truly love. And that's all that matters. If you can be happy doing what you do, that's all that matters. People that strive to become famous singers and do nothing but play one-night gigs in little bars their entire lives, for the most part, are really happy because they're doing what they love, and that's all that really matters. If there's any unhappiness in their lives, it's mostly because there's somebody else that they're responsible for that they can't provide for the way they want to. That's my impetus for making money and getting where I am. But most people in that situation are by themselves for the most part. They're not responsible for somebody else. They have somebody else that loves them, then they probably work their own job and are self-sufficient. And they are pursuing a dream. And I don't think there's anything more important in life that you can do than to pursue a dream. And if you spend your life pursuing a dream honestly and with all your heart, regardless of what level of, quote, success society says you've reached, I think you're a success. And I think that's really all that's important in life.
Boy, Lynn, that is so true. That is what Earl Nightingale said, pursuing a worthy ideal with every ounce of honesty and integrity, and having full faith that you'll attain it, that is being a success every day. And there's so many people that are a success that don't even realize it. And so it's important to, when you go through life and try to attain success, is to have people around you that are trusted friends or a mastermind group. How important is a mastermind group or trusted friends?
I think that in anything that you try to do, in any profession or area of expertise that you try to attain, it's always important to have peers that you can discuss your ideas with, your failures with, your successes with, and hold each other's hands. It's like a family. A family unit is put together to help each other, to nurture each other, to make sure that you do the best you can, and nobody can ever ask any more out of you than that. If you do the best you can at what you do, then you're a success. That's the end of that. That's all there is to say about that. And I think having a mastermind of your peers who are all trying to do the same thing pushes you to do better. It elevates you to a different level of success that you probably wouldn't have attained on your own. So I think it's incredibly important to surround yourself both with successful people in your area of expertise, but also people who are striving to get to the same place that they are, and have a support group, if you will. I mean, basically that's what it really is. It's a support group. It's a bunch of people of like mind who have like goals and like intentions and like loves, which is the most important thing, all striving to do the same thing and to help each other get there. That's what a mastermind is, and I think that it's important in whatever area of your life that you're working in to have that working for you if you want to be successful.
Len, who do you feel are the real heroes in society today that aren't getting the credit that they deserve for the things that they do?
Wow. Who does get the credit for the things that they do? Very few people. The most obvious are teachers. It's a real shame. There are some. My oldest daughter, is a teacher, and she's a very good teacher. But my middle daughter has had some problems with teachers who were burnt out. And the reason they're burnt out is because they're not given what they need to teach the kids the way that they should be taught. They're not given a salary that's commensurate to what they do. They are true heroes, and yet they're downtrodden to the point where they finally just give up. It's a real shame. Almost every teacher to the person went into it for their love of children, because they wanted to help build a better society, because they wanted to build an enlightened society. They wanted to help the children have a better life than they did. That's the reasoning behind being a teacher. There is no other reason, because they don't get paid enough to be anything else. But what happens? Society comes along, they crap on their art programs. Art programs have just about totally been removed from school now. My kids aren't. I have to pay extra for them to go after school to learn the arts, which I gladly do. But there's no reason why it should be removed. Physical education, which was a paramount part of school when I was there, is now like twice a week. Music programs are all but gone. I mean, it's insane, because they're penny pitching everything, and the kids are not learning anything but the golden rule. I mean, the ABC. That's all they're learning. School is not only is it no longer fun, but they're not learning the things that they need. I mean, without beauty in your life, without the arts in your life, without music in your life, what is life? I mean, how far can you go on ABC 1, 2, 3? It's a shame, and the teachers are feeling this in the core of their hearts. And after a while of frustration, they get to a point of burnout where they're mistreating the kids to a point. I mean, they're not really. They're just mean. They hate life. They hate where they're at. They hate what's happened to them. They hate not being able to give the children what they went into this to do. And it's one of the biggest shames in our society that I have ever seen. The children are our future, and we are just dumping on them by not giving them what they need to be what we want our future to be, what we profess that we're raising our children to be. There's so many people that are homeschooling now, and I'm not sure that that's the answer either, because the kids don't get the social interaction that they do at school, which is important. But what are you going to do? As far as heroes are concerned that are downtrodden and not taken care of, there are God knows how many professions I think fall into that category. But I honestly believe that the worst of all, the worst crime of all, is what we as a society have done to the teachers of this country, who have given their lives and souls and gone to school for all of those years to become what we're denying them the ability to be. And there's no greater crime, I think, in society than that today.
Len, why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
Young people, babies, are born an open book, and we write the pages to that book. We make them and mold them and tell them what they can and they can't be. We give them the right, or the ability, not the ability, they have the ability. We give them the right, the permission to become good, bad, evil, or nothing at all. Heroes, if that's the word, show children what they can be if they just believe. Without that, society tells them to be worker bees and get a job at the 7-Eleven and put in your 8 hours 5 days a week and go home and don't complain. That's not a way to live life. You have to have aspirations. You have to believe that you can do better. You have to want to do better. They all want to do better, but they have to believe they can in order to do it. And without heroes, without people showing the way, without people leading the way, they have no reason to believe that they can do any better. And that's a real shame. This country was founded on being able to do whatever you thought you could. It was founded on the freedom to be creative, the freedom to get ahead, the freedom to make your own way, to make your own life. And now we're doing nothing but shoving them down and telling them, no, you can't do this. No, you have to go get a job. No, you can't. It's just insane. And I think the only thing that is giving them any hope at all, for those who are even shown it, which so many few are, is the heroes, the people who have stepped out of that mold and said, I don't care what you tell me, I'm going to do what I know I can do. I can be better than that, and you're not going to keep me down. And it's those few individuals, so very few, who are put into the public eye to the point where children actually see them, that give them hope and let them know that life is not so mundane, that it's not what the government tells them, and it's really the government, tells them that they have to be. It's not, I got to get A's and B's and so I can go to college and then get out and be an accountant's assistant and work 5 days a week and be bored out of my skull and take a 2-week vacation every year and die when I'm 80 on a retirement that I can't afford my medicine on. I mean, that's not what life is about. This country was founded on entrepreneurship. It was founded on the ability to do and be whatever you can be. And it sickens me that we have created a society that feels that they have to be worker bees. It's a shame. I mean, it's the reason that our country is falling off in the hierarchy of the world, where all the main inventions and all the greatest creations and all of technology and everything is happening elsewhere, because we're raising our kids to think that they can't do it, that they're not supposed to do it, while other places are teaching their kids how to speak English in the first grade all over the world so that they can take over our jobs. They're teaching them technology. They're teaching them how to think and teaching them why to think so that they can think. We're teaching our kids not to think. There are very few heroes, I think, that are at least thrust into the public's eye enough to help the kids. But those that are the ones that are giving them hope, giving them the opportunity to see that there is a better life and that they can do whatever they want. And I think if we can just teach our kids that they can do and be anything that they want to be, then it will turn it around. They'll turn it around. because they won't be satisfied to be where they are unless we beat them down at a young age to where they don't know any better.
Len, you've been a parent. In fact, you've been a parent a number of times with a number of kids. What are the things that parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive difference in the lives of other people?
I think the job of a parent is to lead by example. I think that we need to let them know that what society tells them is wrong and that they can be anything that they want to be. We need to instill in our kids that they literally can be anything they want to be, that it is up to them. It's not up to society. It's not up to what jobs are available. It's not up to what the stock market says. It's up to them, that if they know that they can invent the next big widget that's going to change the world, then they can do it. But they just have to believe. And it's up to us to give them that belief in themselves. Because the truth is that 99% of humanity can do anything that they believe they can do, and on an individual basis. And the majority of the world is taught to believe that they don't have that option. If we just instill in our children that it is their God-given right to have that option, and that they are capable of doing whatever they want, and it is their right to do whatever they want, then they will. There's going to be nothing that can hold them back. I am totally and completely unemployable because I will not conform to what they want me to be. I've been that way my whole life. I've paid for it a lot my whole life. But in the end, I'm one of the few who stand out as, now instead of looking at me as the crazy hippie who wouldn't conform, now they look at me as somebody who actually is successful. Now, how weird is that? Think about it. How weird is that? I'm no different than I was then. You know, I'm not doing the crazy things I used to, but I'm the same person. I just refused my whole life, and that's my mom. My mom refused, through all I put her through all that happened, she always refused to let me believe anything less than I am special and I can do whatever I want and never conform. Be yourself, regardless of what anybody else thinks. It's not important what people think about you. It's what you think about yourself that's important. And my whole life I've lived that way. And now I'm revered for it. It's silly. I'm not any different than I was when everybody hated me, but now I'm revered for it. I'm successful. People come to me and ask my advice. How weird is that? So I think, I sit back sometimes and I marvel at it. I laugh. It's like, Jesus, 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't give me the time of day. Now you're asking my advice. I haven't changed, but I think it's our job to raise our children. It's our job to raise our children, to raise their children, to be free thinkers, to be outward thinkers, to be all that they can be in every way that they can be, and not let anybody hold them back. That's the heroes that our kids need. It's not just parents. It's everyone around them. It's got to be a group effort. Somehow we've got to save the teachers, pay them more money. We've got, because those are the. I raise my kids. I work at home, and I've done that on purpose so that I can raise my kids and not have anybody else do it. But they're still affected by their teachers. That's the only thing that I don't have control over. And I want to see a society who has teachers that the way they used to be. When I was in school, teachers cared. I mean, they weren't paid any better, but they were revered. Now they're just like, nobody really cares. We've got to save the teachers somehow. We've got to save the school system so that they can help us raise our children to be all that they can be. They can raise them to be the free thinkers of the future. They can save this world, because right now we're headed to hell in a handbasket.
Well, Len, you're about the same age as I am, and most of the times people thought we were crazy because we were following our own path and refused to give up on our dreams and just be different and follow a different path than the entire herd. And now it's interesting that people look at us and think that we're special, but we're no different than we were before. I guess it's funny that the world has changed and we haven't. So, Yeah, so I guess just being ahead of our times, it makes a big difference. Well, how does it feel to be recognized as an internet hero?
Isn't it funny that you and I come from an age we were called, it was the 60s when we grew up as adolescents, where we were feeling our oats, and we refused to give in. We were the hippies. We were the crazy guys that wouldn't conform, and our parents hated us, and the cops hated us. Everybody hated us because we refused to conform. And now all of a sudden, all these years later, everybody's looking up at us as, wow, they didn't conform. Let's find out what they know. Isn't that strange? It's so funny. It's come full circle. It never ceases to amaze me. I think all we can do is just continue to do what we've done. It's funny. I don't really consider myself a hero. I'm me. I've done my thing. If a hero is somebody who tries to help people, then I guess you could consider that. But I think that everybody should do that. I really don't think that's heroism. I think that's humanity. I think that's the way we were intended to be. If there's a God that is looking down on us and saying, you know, this is what I want, then that's what he's saying. This is what I want you to be. I want you to help each other. I want you to love each other. What did we do in the 60s? What was the 60s and the 70s about? It was about love and peace. That's what we taught. That's what we preached. That's what we picketed about, you know. And we went through all of the shenanigans we did to get our point across. We only had our hair really long and dressed weird and did the things that we did to make a point. Our point was, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. You know, the world has gone haywire. Love and peace. Let's love each other. Let's stop fighting each other for stupid things. That's what it was about, and it's still what it's about. It's what it's always been about. And I talked earlier about religions. I think the saddest part about religion is that you've got all of these different things, different religions all over the world. Wars are fought. Millions of people are killed. What's it really all about? It's about people saying, I want you to believe like I do. You know, when in reality, if they really got down to the core of it, we all believe the same. You got Muhammad, you got Buddha, Krishna, Jesus Christ, all the way down the line, Abraham. They're all preaching the same exact gospel. That's the sad part. I don't understand. Why are we fighting? What's it about? We're all being taught by these great, great people of the past to love each other, to get along, to accept each other's differences and not fight about it. That's what it's all about. And yet, that's not what's happening. So, that's what you and I fought for in those years. And I'm still fighting today for. I think that's what the Heroes program is about. It's about love. It's about acceptance. And it's about letting people know that they don't have to let these crazy societal things screw them up. You're okay. It's okay to be you. In fact, it's good to be you. Just believe in yourself and stop letting other people tell you it's a bad thing and move on with your life. Become what you can be. Wherever your heart takes you, it's okay. Follow your heart and you will be okay. That, I think, is what this program is about. It's what I see it being about. It's the only thing I think in life that is worth being about. It's what everybody that I know who is successful is about. In one way or another, they do their thing, they make their money, but every one of them to a man, all of my friends, all of my peers, are very intent on helping other people find themselves in one way or another. Some of us teach them to find themselves through success in business. That's one way. Some of us, like Stephen, teach you to believe in yourself and know that this is how it's going to go and that will get you where you want to go. There's all different levels of how to get there, but in the end, we're all trying to tell everybody it's okay to be you. It's not only okay, it's imperative that you be you and be true to yourself. I don't know of a single person out there that's saying being something you're not. It's be true to yourself. And you will find people who will follow you and want to be with you and will help you get where you want to go. And that's what life's all about. Help as many people as you can be happy with who they are. We're all different. So.
Well, Lynn, it seems that we've traveled a similar trail, being excoriated most of our lives because we are different from everybody else. We refuse to conform. How will it be recognized as an Internet hero change your life?
Quite honestly, Ralph, it won't change my life. But what I hope it will do is change somebody else's life. I hope in the bottom of my heart that somebody somewhere who's in a similar situation, whose father left, or who's hooked on drugs, or who had a bad divorce, or lost their kids, or whatever, will hear this and say, God, I understand. He understands. And it's okay. I'm okay. And I can do this. And life will be good because I believe it will be good. That's my most fervent hope. It's not going to change my life. I'm an old guy now. You know, we're both, by some people's standards, maybe not old, but I'm in my mid-50s. I'm in the twilight of my life. And it took me most of that time to get to this point in realization, you know. It took me 45 years of that 55 years to understand that it was okay to be me, to understand that I can be anything that I want to be, and it's okay to be that. Not only is it okay, but it's good to be that, and that I can help other people be that. And if this interview helps any one person, then it's all worthwhile. Because that's what it's all about. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be different. And you know what? It's not only okay to be different, it's important to be different. We are all different. It's not good to follow the crowd, period. I don't care. As many hippies and people who I hung with and all the crazy things I did as there are out there, not a single one of us was like me. I am me. I am one person. I am an individual. There's not another person on the face of this earth like me. And not only is that not a good thing, it's an imperative thing. It's important to understand that that's okay. It's not only okay, it's great. It's good. It's good to be me. I don't want anybody else to be like me. I just want people to understand that it's okay to be them. And it's good to be them. And that they can do anything they want. And if they can be happy living out of garbage cans and living in a cardboard box, then that's okay too, as long as they're happy at it. The important thing is that whatever you do, you're happy about it and that you love it. Success is about going to meet your maker with a smile on your face because you knew you were happy about the way you lived your life. I've done a lot of things that I'm not really proud of, but in the end, I could die tomorrow and know that I lived my life good, that I did what I was supposed to do. And this is part of the culmination of that. I am now, this is my epitaph. I'm passing on the license to people to be themselves. I'm passing on the right to be themselves. I'm saying, do what you want to do, be yourself. The only thing that is important is that you be happy. If you can be happy, then God bless you, you're successful. And that's all life's about. Let the other crap go. Just be happy.
Well, Len, I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and some of the stuff that you've had to say has really resonated with me because we're from the same generation. We're seeking after truth and honesty and being ourselves and making a difference in the world. What do you think about the Heroes program and its impact on families, children, and businesses?
Ralph, when you first told me about this, I thought it was an unbelievable idea. I was completely honored that you asked me to be part of it. I'm sure I've gone into a lot more detail than you wanted me to, but I do appreciate the opportunity. I'm a very outspoken person when it comes to things like this. I believe in my heart that if we can figure a way to get, and I've heard some of the other interviews that you've done, if we can find a way to get these interviews to people who need to hear them, that we can change the world. It's amazing. You've interviewed mostly people who are my peers, people who I know, people who have been successful, and a lot of people who've had similar stories to what we've done. Everybody's had their own crosses to bear, and they're all different, but they're all equally as upsetting, and they're not unlike millions of other people out there. And if we can find a way to get this out to people, to let them know that it's okay to be them, to let them know that not only is it okay, but it's good to be them, and that they can move on and be whatever they want to be, that they can become the success stories that they want to be. And as I said earlier, success has nothing to do with money. It has to do with being happy. Then we can do a world of good with this. I personally will do anything and everything I can to help get this out there. This is an amazing project, one that's long overdue, and I think the only trial ahead of us is figuring out how we can get this in front of the right people that need to see it and need to hear it. And my hope for this is that anyone listening to this will pass it on to those that need to hear it, and or those who can have the ability to give it to those who need to hear it. And if my story can help anyone, that's incredible, because that's my life's goal is to help anyone. As I said earlier, if you can help make a difference in one person's life, I honestly believe that's the definition of success. But with all of the other interviews that you've done, with all the other testimonials that you have, with all the other affirmation of life that you've got on here, I can't see how this could be anything but an incredible, life-giving project, one that could save literally millions of lives. Right now, it's a matter of getting it in front of the right people. It's a matter of getting it to the schools. It's a matter of getting it to the churches, to the suicide centers, to the people who are really hurting, who need to hear these things, who need to know that it's not over, that there is hope. Not only is there hope, but that they can do whatever they want, and that it's time to stop listening to the crap that's been filled into their heads. That's not what life is about, that they can do whatever they want. So I applaud you. I can't think of a better way to help the world than with something like this. And I want you to know that I will do everything that I can to try and get this out to the people that need to hear it, because I think it is the most heartfelt and an important project I've seen in a long, long, long time.
Well, Len, I really thank you for that. And it's been a project I've worked on for 14 years. I've sacrificed my life for it because God put it on my heart to make a difference in the world for good. There's no reason why kids have to go through the mistakes that I made and that you made, and just the self-loathing and all the ways that we tried to destroy our own lives. And, you know, it's my dream to have people like you, who are my heroes, to help make this product and this program successful, and to help the up-and-coming generation so that they can make the world a better place, that we truly can have love and peace without war, and prosperity, and feed the masses. And I really thank you for taking your time, and I appreciate your offer for help. Thanks again.